So I'm out here in the apiary today getting ready to do a spring bee check and feed. Now, spring's a really difficult time for bees because of the fluctuations in temperature. So it's those changeable temperatures and changeable weather that makes spring such a dangerous time for bees, because those swings between the high temps and the low temps will mean that bees are a bit more vulnerable. During the warm temperature, lots of bees are being born, lots of new bees hatching. They need a lot of food and calories to build all of that up, but then the weather changes, it's colder, or maybe rainy, and the bees can't get out to forage. So that's why it's really crucial to ensure in spring that your hives have enough stores. Now ideally that would be honey that they have stored through the winter, you haven't taken too much, but even then sometimes we find that we need to be sure that they're getting some supplementary feed. You, generally speaking, feed a liquid feed in springtime, usually a thin syrup, which is about 1-to-1 sugar and water ratio, and you feed it by putting a feeder in the top of your hive, which I'll show you, and letting the bees feed off it. Now you can buy specialist bee feeders like this one. This is a specialty bee feeder. It has a container for the sugar syrup to go in, a little cup that sort of protects the bees from falling in the sugar, and then the bees come up through the bottom to get their sugar feed. This is called often a rapid feeder, and it's a really great way to deliver feed to your bees really quickly. However, it's not really my preferred method. I'll show you what my preferred method is. It's actually a DIY version of a contact feeder. Now a contact feeder is usually a bucket that has a mesh top in it, and atmospheric pressure will keep the sugar syrup when you put it upside down. It'll keep it in place. So I like to use jars with little holes poked in the top, and that does the same thing. So basically when I turn this jar over filled with sugar syrup, a little bit comes out and then it slows down and the bees can deal with it. And eventually it will stop as well. So I like those because I can carry them really easily, get them out to the hive. I have 3 hives at the moment, and it just means it's a little bit more simple for me. So when you're doing your spring bee checks, you want to be sure that you are doing it on a day that is relatively dry, hopefully sunny, and not a lot of wind. And it's a little bit warmer, so closer to around sort of 13 degrees Celsius and above. However, spring, especially in Scotland, is a little bit more hit and miss. We've had weeks of rain, so I'm kind of having to chance it today. The forecast is mostly bright, and I am just kind of winging it weather-wise. The other thing to say is that you really want to be doing your bee check somewhere between sort of lunch times and sort of mid-afternoon. So 11 to 2 is the general guidance, because most of the bees will be out foraging. Now, when it's raining, they don't tend to go out, and then you get a lot more bees in there, so it's not ideal. However, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, and just be sure you have really good safety equipment. The way that I start a bee inspection is I start on one end and I just pry one of the frames out just to give me a bit more space. You can see here there's some empty comb with some bees cleaning up the comb, but I just set that aside. You can see here that this beehive has a bit of a wild comb, and that's really because the spacing wasn't right at some stage in this, and then they've built up some wild comb. The only problem with that really is that you can't get in as much to see if there's any queen cells that could be hidden back there, but it looks okay. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but in here I can see some bee larvae, which is great. That means the queen is active and working her little butt off. So the things that I'm looking for in a spring bee check is I'm looking to see that there are baby bees. I'm looking to, and bee eggs. I'm looking to see if the queen is alive and healthy, which sometimes can be a bit tricky to spot. And I'm looking to make sure that there are no queen cells being developed so that I know that the hive isn't about to swarm. I start from one end and I'm going to just work my way through this hive. So a really good sign here, you can see we've got some capped brood here. So that means that the queen is laying loads of baby bees, bee larvae in there, looking really, really good. So one of my concerns about this hive is that there's not a lot of honey. So usually the brood would be around the center and then there would be honey around the outside, and there's not a lot. So it definitely is a sign that I need to feed these guys up. And right there, where'd you go? Right there is the queen. She's looking beautiful, nice and healthy. So yeah, I'm really happy with this hive. No queen cells. They've got lots of space. They just definitely need some feeding. It's a very light hive. I'm just gonna put everything back now. Put a crown board on. An empty super on top of that. Make sure it's all nice and lined up. And I just go ahead and stick the feeder over one of the holes in the crown board. One down.